All right, so there's just one more quick note I want to make about the DSM, and that is for you to understand that it is not just a scientifically research-driven document. A lot of what's in the DSM is culturally and politically driven. And let me give you a good example. Homosexuality used to be considered a psychological disorder according to the DSM. It didn't matter how well adjusted the person was, or how good their life was, or how happy they were with their situation. If they were homosexual, they were labeled as having a psychological disorder according to the DSM. Over the years, that changed, and eventually homosexuality was removed from the DSM. But the way it was removed is really fascinating. It wasn't based on research, okay, which the DSM, again, is largely a research-based document. It was done by a vote of doctors who were working on a revision to the DSM. So you just think about that process. It's in one day and out one day due to a vote process, does not reflect research and science per se, right? So a lot of things that have been included historically were included for historical cultural reasons, and things are removed because culture shifts. Uh, Another good example is actually in a recent version of the DSM. They were trying to decide if we should reintroduce ideas of basically a sexual addiction type disorder, which used to be in an earlier version of the DSM but was removed, and now they're going back and forth as to if that should be included or not. And it's an area for a possible future disorder to be included. Well, what is an addiction or too much desire to have sex? And the answer to that question is really difficult to answer, and is largely culturally determined. So because of that, it hasn't been included, but you can see how the idea of including that or removing it is very culturally driven a lot of the time rather than research driven. And so I don't want you to just think of this as a purely scientific document. There are many cultural values reflected in it, and a lot of politics that go into what's included and what's not included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. And let me just give you one example of how the DSM shifted greatly with the fifth edition compared to the fourth. In the third and fourth editions, the DSM had what we call axes, which were different categories that we diagnosed people across. And we had 5 axes that we looked at to give a more extensive description of what the person was experiencing. And that was removed from the DSM-5. And one of the reasons why, and back on the third and fourth editions, it was really touted by the American Psychiatric Association that these were important axes. And I actually like a lot of aspects that we used to get from those axes in diagnosis that we don't no longer use. But they were removed largely to make the DSM-5 more in line with or compatible with the ICD-10, which is another major diagnostic manual that's used throughout the world. So the DSM-5 was largely changed to fit with the ICD-10, not for any other reason than political unity and communication and those type of things. All right, hopefully this brought those issues to light for you to a small extent. It is not just scientifically driven. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Bye.